Hello friends, in our last video we learned about how to handle multiple windows using Selenium WebDriver. Today we will learn about a new concept in Selenium, a new concept called frames. We will learn how to handle frames and how to perform operations on the elements which are present inside the frame. So let me create another code and explain you step by step. Let's name it frames demo. So we will use WebDriver manager as we did in our last code. WebDriver manager dot Chrome driver. Let me see if we can use Firefox instead. Firefox driver also we can use and setup. This will set up the Firefox driver for us. We need not mention the path of the Geeko driver. So this single line of code will take care of it. We will have to import the WebDriver class from Selenium package, and similarly we will have to import the Firefox package as well. Firefox class from the Firefox driver class from the Firefox package. We are going to use shadi.com to explain this concept. So shadi.com, no, shaadi.com in double quotes. So this will open shadi.com for us. So let me explain you what exactly we are going to cover in this tutorial. So if we open shadi.com, you see this pop-up from Google, which is asking us if we want to use our Google account to log in. This opens and it is hiding our login button. So if a user wants to do normal login, he will have to either uh, click a cross button. But I'll show you with the after inspecting this element. So if you see this element, it is a div and it is present. If we go up in hierarchy, this element is present inside a iFrame. This iFrame is the parent, grandparent, ancestor of this dialog. So sign in with Google dialog. This is the title. So this this entire small window is a iframe basically, and if we have to perform operations, like if I say I want to close this, so I inspected again, and this svg element is present, or this div element having the close button with ID as close is present inside the iframe. So if we try to directly perform the action of pressing or clicking this close button, we will not be able to perform because this is present inside the iframe. So let's try to do it. So the ID is close. If I simply test the XPath here, diff where the ID is equal to close, we are able to find it. Okay, our XPath is correct. However, if we use it inside our code, we will not be able to perform that operation. I'll show you. Dot find element. We can directly use ID, but since we tested the XPath, I am using XPath to avoid any confusion, and dot click. So I will click the XPath, click the close button, and let's wait for some time because that Google pop-up takes some time before appearing. So let's wait for at least 5 seconds. I am entering 5000 milliseconds and adding a throw for uninterrupted exception, which is thrown by this method of thread class. So it will open shadi.com, it will wait for 5 seconds and try to click this button. Okay, let me make it 6 seconds to avoid any problem. And let's run this on a Java application. We are expecting it to fail basically. Seems my internet is slightly slow. Okay, starting. So the browser has opened, is opening shadi.com. So the pop-up appeared as expected, but as of now, it will wait for 6 seconds, but it failed to click it despite waiting. Unable to locate the element. So our XPath was correct, yet we are not able to click the element. We are getting no such element exception. And that is something which was expected. So in order to close this button, as I told, we will have to enter this realm of iframe, and only after that we will be able to click it. So let's locate the iframe again. We will have to first locate the iframe. So this is the element iframe. Its class is this, its source is this, and its title is this. So we need the XPath to be able to locate this iFrame. So let me try. iFrame title is equal to this. Sign in with Google dialog. This is the title, which looks unique, and we are easily able to locate it using the XPath. So let me add this XPath in my code. Web element, Google pop-ups, or let me mention it as Gmail pop-up is equal to driver dot find element by XPath. So this will basically find this iFrame and assign it to this variable, which is a web element. For web element, we have to import the appropriate class. So once we are able to locate it, we will enter it. So how to enter it? We will use driver dot switch to. Just like to enter to perform operation on multiple windows in our last example. In our last tutorial, we used switch to. In that case, we were using Windows. Now we will use switch to frame. It is similar, just that we are using frame instead of Windows. So we will switch to this particular frame, and there are three different flavors to switching to frame. So if you see, this one uses index as an argument. If there are, let's say, there are two frames in a web page, and the index of the frame in which we want to switch to, you can simply mention the index like 1 or 2, whatever. And in this one, it uses either the name or the ID. If the iframe has name or ID, in our case, it had class attribute, src attribute, title, and style. So there was no name or ID attribute. Otherwise, we can simply choose the name or the ID and specify it in the argument. And we are using the third option, in which we are firstly locating the iframe element and then mentioning it in our argument for the frame method, like this. So this statement will switch to the frame, and after switching to the frame, we will perform the operation of closing it. So this thread.sleep, we can use it before locating the frame, and then it will click the close button. So once we click the close button, we see the login button, which is basically what we want to click on. So in order to click the login button, we have to again find the locator for this login button. So it is basically a button class, and it has if you see, it has a text called login. So we will simply test our XPath Button is our element and our attribute. In case of text, we don't need to use @ simply we'll use text is equal to, we will copy this login exactly, paste it here and click. So it is locating. So after we close the Google pop-up, we will try to simply click on the login button. By XPath, and we will click it. Again, we will add thread.sleep, but with a smaller amount to avoid any problem. So now our code should first wait for 6 seconds. It will wait for the Google pop-up to appear. It will switch to it. It will close it, and then it will click the login button. After it clicks the login button, this pop-up should appear. And after that, he can simply log in with using his ID and password. So let me close it and rerun our code. This question is asked very frequently in the interviews, that how you handle frames in Selenium. So the pop-up has opened. Okay, our code failed somehow. Let me see why. Invalid selector exception. iFrame title this. Given XPath, this is invalid. The expression is not legal expression. So it is basically saying invalid selector exception. Let us see on which line it is giving this error. It is giving it this error on line number 19. So it failed to locate this iFrame using the code which we used. Okay, let us test it. Actually, we had tested it successfully here. Maybe there is some syntax error. Okay, so there is one extra bracket here. That's the reason why it was not deducting it. Yeah, now it is finding. There was an extra bracket at the end. That's why it was not able to find the iframe itself. So no problem, guys. Let us run again. I'm saving it and let's rerun it. See, sometimes we get these kind of syntax errors during our interviews. So no need to panic. Just calmly find out that what is the problem. Do the debugging in front of the interviewer. Even everyone makes mistakes. No one is perfect. Even the interviewer knows. So no need to panic. just check, go to the line in which there is a error, and copy it, test it again, and then you can overcome the error easily. Now it able to close that dialog. So let's see, it didn't click the login button. So let's see why. What is the problem here? I had added wait as well. So it gave the error on line number 23, which is clicking the login button. I hope there is not similar error. I don't think, but something, some problem is there for sure. So it is saying no such window exception. Browsing context has been discarded. So if you remember in our last code, in our last example, when we were handling multiple windows, after closing the window, we switched back to the parent window. We had captured the ID of the parent window so that we can switch to it. So that switch we have not performed. After closing the pop-up, we need to switch to the parent frame or switch back to the default context. Driver dot switch to dot. There is a method called default content. This will enable us to switch back to our to the parent or to the realm which was initially present after we before switching to the frame. We switched to the frame, we performed some operation, but we never switched back to the parent frame. So we can use the switch to default content in order to switch back to the previous realm and perform to successfully be able to perform operations in the. So I will close this and test it again. Now I clicked it. So these each and every step is important. We have to keep in mind when we are switching to a frame or switching to a window, we have to switch back to our parent frame. There is another way to achieve this. Instead of default content, we can also use parent frame, which is slightly easier to remember. So I'll show it using this method as well. So I'm closing it, I'm saving it, and let's run again. So if the interviewer is just asking you this question without asking you to code, and you are telling him that we will use in order to switch to the frame, we will use switch to dot frame, and he can might ask you a counter question that okay, you will switch to the frame. How will how you will get back to the parent frame? So you must be aware that which method to use to switch back to the parent frame and perform the operations in the parent context. So it closed and it clicked on the login button and opened this pop-up to enter the user credentials. So guys, this was the tutorial today. How we, just to summarize, how I explained what are the frames. You should understand frame like in a building, there are multiple apartments. And if you want to access the kitchen of a particular apartment, you first need to get access. You need to enter that apartment. Only then you can access the kitchen of that apartment. So think of this close button as the kitchen of the apartment, and think of this iFrame as an apartment in a building. So Shadi.com was a building, and in order to access the kitchen of a particular apartment, you switch to a particular apartment. You take the statement of switch to frame as a key to the apartment. You enter that apartment. Now you perform some operations. You enter the kitchen. You close the kitchen. Now you want to come back to the building. In order to you close the iframe, you close the door of the apartment, and now you switch back to the building by writing this statement: switch to parent frame or switch to default content. It is default content. Many people get confused between content and context, because context is a more appropriate word when we talk about I am using the word realm, but context is another word for this. So to one might get confused. So we just need to remember carefully, it is default content in order to switch back to the parent frame, or we can simply use the parent frame, and we can perform operations in the building after that, because we have smoothly switched back to our parent frame. So guys, I hope you learned something new through this video. It added value to your, enhanced your knowledge about automation, your knowledge about Selenium. And if you have any query, feel free to mention the query or your doubts in the comment box, and share it among your friends who are learning automation using Selenium with Java. And if you need a detailed one-to-one session with me, you can drop me an email. I will leave my email ID in the description box. And if you want some kind of one-to-one consultation from me, then you can reach out to me through the email, or I will also leave a link to my TopMed URL profile. So guys, that's it for today. Hope to see you soon with another awesome video like this. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Take care.